Hey, I found an antique loom last weekend. Welcome to Hack-A-Week. Hey there, it's been a while and I decided to get back on YouTube with this project. This is a carpet loom. My wife Lisa and I found it this last weekend at an antique store and got it for the super cheap price of only $100. This is a loom built sometime between 1918 and 1940 by the Union Loom Works in Boonville, New York, which is about 30 miles from where I grew up in the Adirondacks of northern New York State. How about that? I didn't realize that until after we got home. We took some pictures of it. It was kind of buried with some other stuff at the warehouse where the antique store was. And they said, we can't take it out today, we'll get it ready for you. You can pick it up a later day, which was today. I went and got it today, brought it home. And over the last couple of days doing some research, I found out that it's a Union Loom Works custom rug loom. It will weave a rug 45 inches wide. You can also weave cloth on it, but it was mostly designed for rugs. This upper part up here holds the shuttles, which hold the different pieces of weft that you would put in your rug. And there's only one shuttle, but that's cool. So I thought I would just kind of walk around, give you an overview of a loom and its parts. And what we're going to do is not do like a full crazy restoration, tear this thing all apart. I just want to get it in good working condition. And we're going to make some rugs. Let's take a look at this thing. It has the beginnings of a rug on it. Just a short section. They only got about 8 inches done and then stopped, whoever they is. And it's all strung up here, but there are some rusty parts on here that need some attention. It's a little bit wonky, needs to be tightened up. A couple of bolts here and there are missing. All this string back here, we're going to go ahead and save this. Some of it's really good, and it's really interesting looking stuff. It's got some nice little stripes on it and whatnot. But the pieces are all here, and it should work just fine with a little bit of cleanup. But here's the deal on a loom. This beam right across here, this is like the front beam, the back beam. This is also known as the breast beam. This would be the take-up roller for your cloth. Back here is the warp roller. That's what this stuff is. The part that runs back and forth is the warp. This stuff here that runs perpendicular to that is called the weft. This piece right here is the reed, aptly named because, I don't know, maybe a long time ago they were actually made out of little pieces of reed, and the strings all come through here. The warp runs through this. This section is the beater, so when you run a piece of your weft across here, you push it against the, you pull the beater against it, and it tightens everything up. And these pieces right here are called the heddles, and they move like so. So when you have it in one position, a certain number of the colors and whatnot of the warp come up, and when they do, if I can get a side shot here, they create this opening right here where you push the shuttle through, and that little opening is called the shed because I guess it looks like a little shed. And let me see if I can hold the camera right here, and I'll push on the other treadle. That'll lift the other heddle, and you get a different shed. The other pieces of warp come up. So you do that, you run the shuttle through, you beat it, and you do this again, run the shuttle back through, beat it again, and so on and so forth. There are ratchets on these rollers so that they lock into place. That keeps tension on all the pieces of warp. This part up here, the piece that sticks up, is called the castle. There's some pretty interesting names to these things. This is the brake. So what this does is hold the warp roller in place, and then up here this holds the take-up roller with your cloth on it in place. Around the back right here is where the spools of thread would go for the warp. This is missing the pins, but a spool would go right here. Then you run the string through here. It comes up and then winds onto the warp roller. And this particular one can hold up to 100 yards of warp, which is a lot. So you could make quite a few rugs. So what really needs the work on this is, like I said, nuts and bolts need to be tightened up. The whole frame needs to be made a little bit stiffer. All of these little wire heddles are rusty. Some of them are really bad. They can be replaced for about $100. I can replace all of these. There's places that still have those available. There's still people out there weaving all over the place. This is a 2-heddle loom. It's only got 2 of them. Some of them have 5. Some of the big giant looms have up to 36. So this one will do a 45-inch wide piece of cloth or a rug, like I said. And when these were made, this was actually a pretty lucrative cottage industry. People would buy these and they would take old pieces of cloth, old coats, etc., tear them up into strips a few inches wide. This stuff is only about 1 inch wide, like maybe 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide, and then just run it back and forth as the weft, and make rugs out of them. And they're pretty durable, and they would sell them, and you could actually make a living at it. So there is the little stamp on there, Union Custom Loom, from the Union Loom Works Incorporated, Boonville, New York. I can't find a serial number. I don't think they ever did serial number these. Originally they were blue from the factory, from what I can find on the internet, and this one is green. Maybe it was green from the factory. I don't know for sure. Someone may have taken this all apart, repainted it at some point. But it's a really nice loom, and Lisa and I are going to have a lot of fun making some rugs on this, and probably later some cloth. So first thing I need to do is cut away all of that old warp, get it all out of there. And we're going to take the reed out. I'm going to take that down to the shop and use my glass beater and glass bead all this to get the rust off. That way I'm not doing anything with chemicals or whatever. Going to clean up all of this stuff on the heddles and put new ones on. And that's really about all I think it's going to need. And then we're going to warp it all up and start weaving some rugs. So let's get all this string cut off. We really, like I said, we got a pretty good deal on this. I have seen them for sale for upwards of $950, and we only paid $100. The lady we bought it from, she said she paid $350 for it. And when I asked, she said $100. I paid $350. And she says, I'll take $100. I just threw a $100 bill right on the counter. I didn't even hesitate. Okay, that takes care of that side of it. I don't know if I can pull these through or not. Let's give it a try. I may have to just cut it all away. Let's just give everything a tug here and see what we get. Yeah, this stuff's really tangled up pretty bad. This loom's been moved around a lot since it went out of commission, and all of these warps got really tangled. But with a little patience and time, we'll have all this stuff pulled out. But I think I'm going to save this little piece of rug that was woven up here. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll turn it into a wall hanging. But I think I want to save it because it was on the thing when we bought it. There we go. The heddles are all cleared out. Rather than try to pull all this mess through the reed, I think I'm just going to cut it right close to the reed. We're going to cut this weft away as well. Get that snipped. Let's just cut this right up close to the reed and make it easier to pull out. instead of having to deal with all of the tangly pieces. I first got into weaving in high school, art class. I discovered card weaving, it's called. It's also known as tablet weaving. Pretty simple form of weaving. You might Google it, card weaving or tablet weaving, and read about it if you're interested. It's a pretty easy way to weave up things like guitar straps and narrow items. You can do wide things, but it's a little trickier. Cat toys. Okay, let's see what we get here. All right. Now the reed is all free and clear. Here we go. Now this should say somewhere how many per inch this is, and they call it dents per inch. Each one of the holes that you put warp through is called a dent. Like I said, the terminologies are kind of funny. You wonder where they came from. See, this all needs to be tightened up. Everything's a little loose. But this looks like maybe a 8 or 10 dent reed. Let's check it out with a ruler. You just put a ruler up next to this, and then I can just count how many holes there are. So it looks like we've got 1, 2, let's go this way, it'd be easier to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is a 12 dent reed, so I can put 12 pieces of warp per inch. And it's actually not in bad shape. It's just a little light rust on there. You can get rid of that pretty easy. Okay, let's get this rug, what's left of it, off from here. And this is held on to the take-up roller with just some strings that go to this dowel right here. And then the warp was tied off to this dowel in groups. Each one of these groups represents one of the rows in the back between those dowels. So I need to cut this off from here. And I think I'm gonna redo all of these strings. So I'm just gonna snip the strings that hold it. And there it is. Nice wall hanging. A razor is just gonna be the easiest way to do this. Just slice right through all those strings. I can't find my razor knife right now, so I'm just gonna use a blade. Oops. There we go, it's free. So let's see what we can do about salvaging all of this thread back here. Okay, almost there. We got a big tangled mess, but with a bit of patience, I think I can get all this stuff collected up. Well, I've decided I'm just going to throw it all away. It's just too tangled, and it's just too much work to straighten it all out. So, unfortunately, it'd be kind of fun to save it all, but bye. Getting the rest of these pieces off is pretty straightforward because they're just tied with a simple girth hitch. So now that they've been cut, these just pull off. And there we go. The loom is undressed. When a loom is all warped up and ready to weave, it's called a dressed loom. This one is now undressed. There you go. All cleaned off of all of the thread and all the other junk, and it's ready to do a little more work on. Next video, I'm going to clean up the reeds, get the rust gone from them, Gonna order some new heddles, those little wire things. We're gonna put those on, and then it'll be down to just tightening things up. Maybe do a little lubing of the back roller with maybe some beeswax in there to help it roll a little bit easier. Lubricate up the things like the pawls and levers and whatnot. I need to get the brake adjusted. There's a lot of fine tuning that's going to happen on it, but that'll be in the next video. So thanks for watching this one, and no motorcycles, sorry, not going to be any more motorcycles. I think I'm pretty much done with motorcycle videos. So all the motorcycle fans out there, I'd like to say thank you so much for all of that support a couple of years ago and all of the watches I had, and it was a lot of fun doing that, but that era is pretty much over. It's back to just projects like this. So thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and until next time.